Canta el llanero, citragándose el camino, cual centauro majestuoso se encuentra con el jilguero. Ay, mi llanura, embrujo verde donde el azul del cielo se confunde con tu suelo en la inmensa lejanía. En la alborada el sol te besa y del estero al morichal hienden las garzas el aire que susurra en las palmeras un canto de libertad. Ay, ay, mi llanura, embrujo verde donde el azul del cielo se confunde con tu suelo en la inmensa lejanía. En la alborada el sol te besa y del estero al morichal hienden las garzas el aire que susurra en las palmeras un canto de libertad. Ay, mi llanura, fina esmeralda es tu cielo cristalino, a tu hermosura canta el llanero tragándose el camino, cual centauro majestuoso se encuentra con el jilguero.
In the summer, when the waters had receded, Los Caños reappeared, and it was delightful to bathe in their safe and crystalline waters. On Sundays, the men took their horses to bathe and enjoyed themselves while they roasted a wild boar over the crackling fire. Juan and Pedro were particularly good at singing and playing instruments, while the other men accompanied them in song. These humble people couldn't ask for more. They were totally satisfied. Everything was idyllic in that lost paradise. It wasn't until late that night that the men realised that Esteban was missing. He was a bit of an explorer. He used to go for walks on his own and loved to collect insects, but he was always there to join the rest of the crew for dinner. Immediately, the men organised themselves with flame torches and they split up, searching in different directions, calling him for hours, but they couldn't find him. The men returned to the camp devastated, expecting the worst. In the morning, my father went with some men to the places they had been to the previous day, and, alarmingly, they spotted near a huge tree trunk a boa constrictor. They came to the conclusion that Esteban most probably had lain on the trunk and during his sleep had been swallowed by the enormous creature. Like most wonderful things, nature has its hidden powerful secrets, and human beings are totally unaware of when they are going to strike. In remote places like these, animals are the rulers, not man, and its inhabitants must come to terms with the law of the jungle. Everybody was tormented because not one part of Esteban's body could be buried, and a funeral was a very important ritual to carry out. So, in his memory, they placed in the soil his insects, which were his only legacy, and promised him in a song that they would look after each other. Life carried on as usual, and as they worked hard on the road, people had high hopes and looked forward to the festivals that were still some months away. The owner of the nearest ranch invited the workers from the camp to celebrate his 50th birthday. Don Julian wanted the musicians to play, and it was very useful to have them nearby. They slaughtered 2 cows, a wild pig, and asked the Indians to bring fresh fish, fruit, and more salt to dry some of the meat. The women of the ranch wore their best clothes, and you could see them rehearsing on the balconies, waving their colourful skirts as they danced. Wishing all the best for Don Julian, improvising songs, Juan enjoyed playing his cuatro superbly, and along with the rhythm of the harp and maracas, People were tap dancing, singing, and clapping their hands all night. The party was fantastic, with lots of drinking and good food. There was a young woman, Bertha, with flaming eyes and swinging hips, and Jesus, one of the musicians, fell for her. But she was already engaged to one of the ranchers. She had just turned 19, and when she was 14, Raphael had promised Bertha's aunt that he would look after her, and took the girl from her small village into the huge savannah to serve him on the ranch. She never saw her family again. Jesus had been watching Bertha on Sundays while she was washing clothes and while he bathed his horse. The shy looks and the blush on her cheeks were a testament to their mutual attraction. At the party, Jesus couldn't wait to ask her for a dance, but she replied, "I'm not a free woman." A few months went by, and Bertha and Jesus were talking to each other on Sundays, in between doing their chores. The festivals in the villages would be coming very soon, and Bertha wanted to visit her family, but many times before she had been denied permission. Maybe she would be lucky this time. Soaked by the water, the dress clung tight against her skin, showing the bruises on her body. She didn't want to look up to answer Jesus when he asked her what had happened. She was so ashamed of herself. It's always like this when I ask for something. Jesus was fuming with rage. "I thought you loved that man and he had respect for you, but now I can see what is happening. Only if you agree, we will teach him a lesson." The scent of coffee in the morning was bliss, and the crew of men were getting ready for work. My father saw Jesus approaching him, and with a concerned voice, he hesitated for a moment. "Excuse me, Don Guillermo. It is a bit early, but I need to ask for a big favour. I must rescue the woman that I love from her terrible suffering. She has been trapped like this for 5 years. You see, she also loves me, and we want to escape together and have a better life. I'll be a very happy man if I can free her from that abusive swine. But the problem is I don't have enough money to pay the Indian to take both of us by canoe to Venezuela." My father was taken by surprise at the request. He opened his sleepy eyes, saying, "Hold on, Jesus. We are dealing with a very delicate situation. I think it's better if you come to see me in the break at lunchtime. And please tell nobody a word about this. Just mention that you have a health issue." Much wisdom and prudence was needed to deal with the matter. My father was a pharmacist and not a matchmaker, but he was also a man of principle. He decided to take the risk, knowing that it would be gratifying to save 2 lives from misery and prevent a tragedy from happening. So quickly taking his first aid box, he went by horseback to the ranch. Papa had been talking to Don Julian about the party, and all of a sudden he said, "By the way, I have some very good spare vitamins. If you agree, I could give them to the people of your ranch, and at the same time I can check to make sure all your people are in good health." Don Julian welcomed the idea and showed my father to a room he could use to treat people. One by one the ranchers came in, complaining to my father of this and that about their health. They were cured as far as was possible and were given their vitamins. When it was Bertha's turn to be seen, she never mentioned her bruises and she was wearing long sleeves. Then my father asked her to roll up her sleeve to have an injection. When she showed her arm, my father sighed deeply. He asked her, "Are you happy? You know that there are always solutions to make our lives better." Tears welled up in Bertha's eyes. She turned and uncovered her back, showing her badly bruised body. "How can you possibly think I can be happy? This is what I get. I don't believe that he's ever loved me. He treats me like his slave." Papa needed no more proof. He gave her some arnica cream. "Apply the medicine until the bruises have gone. Now, listen to me very carefully. I will personally arrange the canoe for tomorrow after coffee, And early in the morning you must hurry to the river after the ranchers have gone to see to the cows. But you shouldn't take any possessions with you. Remember to act normally. One word of it and the plan is ruined. Jesus will be there at 5 in the morning waiting for you." Papa then gave her some money, saying, "Quickly, take this and hide it." The morning was almost over. The air was rich with birdsong, and the smell of soup was everywhere. Jesus was explaining to my father that his horse was of some value, and as he couldn't take it with him, he would leave it. "Well, very well, I think your horse is worth the money that I'm going to give you, the equivalent of 6 months' salary. Is that fair enough?" Jesus nodded, a bit surprised, and said, "That is more than I thought." My father handed a piece of paper to him. "Sign it for me, please. It is written here that the horse was mine, and I lent it to you while you were working here. That will prevent any malicious comments." On Mondays, the Indians came to sell their goods, and people in the camp, as usual, bought fruit and fish. My father loved pawpaws, and while he was choosing them, he said to the Indian, "Tomorrow I'll need a special delivery, a trip of a couple of days. Come at dawn, I'll pay you well." Putting his index finger across his lips, Papa signalled silence, at the same time that the Indian placed his fist on his heart. The dew was like a fine blanket, and awaking the savannah, the smell of coffee transcended the senses as the laziness of the morning gradually disappeared. My father had mounted his horse, and he had told the foreman that he would be in the ranch house in case he was needed, but in his mind he was ready to go to the river to say farewell to Jesus and Bertha. The Indian was already there, looking at the wonderful rising of the sun, his body slim and agile like another creature of the jungle. "Good morning," they said to each other. "A beautiful day to travel." The Indian looked puzzled. "Where are the things?" Papa replied, "There are no goods. A couple of people will go with you, and I want you to take them safely as far as you can. Please stay together tonight and return tomorrow. Here is your money." He opened his hand, and the Indian gave a huge smile, putting his fist on his heart. Bertha came into view, and a short distance behind, Jesus was following her. They boarded the canoe quickly, and my father gave Jesus an envelope. "Inside there is some money to pay for a decent meal and a place to sleep tonight. That is my present to you both, a honeymoon present. I have already paid the Indian for the whole trip. Also, there is a letter to my good friend who lives in Merida. As soon as you get there, pay him a visit, and he will be able to help you." The canoe flew down the river. The passengers waved, saying thank you with a smile until they had gone. They looked like an illusion vanishing into the distant forest of the river. Papa was so relieved and happy that he wanted to cry. In full splendour, the round moon watched over the men. They were having their frugal dinner around the fire. The foreman, tugging his hat, told the workers that the section of road they were working on was almost complete. "Therefore," he said, "we must move further into the jungle in order to continue with the work. I'm going to explore an appropriate spot to clear and to move our camp there." "Ah," he ruffled his hair, "the other thing I need is more men. We have already lost 3 of them. One by a bolt of lightning, due to treacherous weather. The second dreaming about his insects and swallowed by a boa constrictor. Terrible tragedies. And the third one is dying of love." They all had a laugh, and with good feelings towards the young couple, they went to bed. The water was tepid at midday in Los Caños and inviting to bathe in. Hundreds of colourful Matapiojos, or dragonflies, beat their radiant muslin wings as if urging everybody to go to the festivals.